what is the state of the Big Ten before spring practice gets rolling? Got our Big Ten pre-spring power rankings. Now, again, I want to stress this. These are subject to change. These are not predictions for the 2023 season. This is just how I see the conference's top 5 heading into spring practice. All right, at number 5, got the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, they're under new management, are the Boilermakers. Coach Ryan Walters coming over from the Fighting Illini, and he's going to be the head coach. Now, not only do you have a new head coach, you also have a very talented quarterback in Hudson Card. You got Devin Mockabee, who ran for almost 1,000 yards, just got him a nice little Scully in that first team meeting. I'll just say this about Purdue. They played for a Big Ten title last year. I think they're sneaky. I think they're very sneaky. There's a lot of teams you probably could have put in that 5 spot. I would have listened to conversations about Maryland. I would have listened to conversations about Minnesota. Just from what they have at quarterback with Hudson Card and what they played like last year, I think they're sneaky. So keep an eye on Purdue in the Big Ten West. I also, quite frankly, I'm a little bit biased here based on that conversation we just had with Coach Rule. I would have listened to Nebraska in that 5 spot, okay? I would have listened, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see what they have under the hood in year 1. But I'm telling you, Purdue at number 5, keep an eye on the Boilermakers. At number 4, how about the Wisconsin Badgers? To me, this is a team that is on boom watch. And when I say boom watch, I mean you better keep an eye on them throughout spring, throughout the early parts of the season, and they could be a team that pops right away because they've got some pieces that are really exciting to me. Luke Fickell just wins. Quite frankly, like he's won 70% of his career games as a head coach. You got Tanner Mordecai, who can sling the pill like no other. Very much so an under-the-radar acquisition for them at quarterback because he played at SMU and wasn't playing on the Power 5 stage. Pairing his ability and his skill set with Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator coming over from North Carolina, I think that's a great match, okay? So you have the air raid ability of Wisconsin, pair that with just who they've always been identity-wise of that tough physical football team. You'll have Braylon Allen toting the rock. Like, you're going to have tough Wisconsin with the second layer of being able to throw the ball vertically. Now, that's on paper. We're going to see how it meshes. It is just the first year. But Wisconsin, I think, number 4 for us in the pre-spring rankings, but I like the Badgers a whole lot heading into spring practice. Now, if you have not yet subscribed, we'd love to have you a part of this operation. Also, follow me on Twitter as well as on Instagram so I can hear from y'all. Again, at JD Piquel, just a great medium to hear from y'all. My DMs stay wide open. At number 3, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, Penn State is transitioning out of the Sean Clifford era, okay? One of the most exciting 10 years any program's had. If you caught that, you caught that. But a lot of their top talent takes the next step. Charles Power, director of scouting and rankings here at On3, uses the verbiage, a lot of their top talent is going to, quote, cycle up, meaning they have a whole other offseason to get comfortable in the offense, to get comfortable in the defense, to get comfortable in just a college atmosphere in general. And they've got some really special guys. Nick Singleton, I think, has a real conversation this upcoming season to be one of the best backs, if not the best back in the entire country. Abdul Carter wears number 11 as a linebacker at Penn State. You and I both know they don't just hand out the double ones at State College. He popped last year. He's going to take another step forward this year as leader of that defense. You got Drew Aller. And this is really what it comes down to for me for Penn State in terms of how far they can go. Because I think they'll beat every team, or at least be favored to beat every team at this point in the year outside of Ohio State and Michigan. Now, remember chemistry class where you're mixing elements together and just sort of seeing what happens? And maybe the teacher had her or his back turned and you're just back there playing with elements. That, to me, is what Drew Aller is for Penn State. What does adding the element of Drew Aller mean for the concoction that is Penn State football? Is it going to cause the explosion? Is it going to cause this team to take that next step? Or is it just a little fizzle and maybe take some time and it sort of boils and simmers and eventually you find out what it is? What does it mean to add that to Penn State this year? Because Drew Aller is a special player, a special talent. Sean Clifford is super experienced, tons of ability, but from just purely what God gave Drew Aller, he has more of that than what Sean Clifford had. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback today or that he should have started over Sean Clifford last year. I'm not saying that, but from a tools perspective, that's why you get excited about what he could bring to this offense and to this team and taking that next step. Now at number 2 in our preseason power rankings, got the Ohio State Buckeyes. If you're an Ohio State fan, maybe you feel like you should be number 1, and that's fine if you feel that way. There's a very real case to be made. They have the most talented roster from a stars perspective in the entire conference. I think you can make a real conversation. It's top 3 in the entire country. What I'm curious to see about for them, do they take yet another step on defense and another step in terms of toughness? Because they had a great defense last year, but it wasn't tough enough to get over the hump against Michigan. And I'm using tough very broadly here. You can say physical, you can say mentally in terms of being able to play sound defense for the duration of 4 quarters against that tough, bruising Michigan run game. But you and I both know there has to be that next step for them, because 2 years in a row, you have lost similar fashions to Michigan. Second half, the run game gets rolling, gets downhill, and that was the difference maker. But Ohio State, the encouragement should be we have everything we need to beat Michigan from a personnel standpoint, from an approach standpoint, from an attitude standpoint, from a culture perspective. We got to pay those dues right now, man. In winter conditioning, we have to put in what it's going to require to win this conference. More than likely, winning the conference looks like beating Michigan the last game of the year and setting yourself up with a nice date in the Big Ten title game, which they will, again, probably be favored in if they find themselves in that position. Kyle McCord set up with a nice little quarterback derby, little quarterback battle with Devin Brown. And Devin Brown, 5-star coming out of high school, was the number 1 player actually in his class for us here at On 3. But I do believe this will be Kyle McCord's job. Everyone close to that program is communicating that it is his job to lose. Now, I don't think we'll get an answer on if it's his job or not until fall camp, just the way that Ryan Day does things. But it's going to be on him as well to keep quota with what they want to do offensively. You're throwing to Ferraris, man. Like, you're throwing to some of the best receivers in the country. Marvin Harrison Jr. is about to take college football by storm again. We told you actually this time last year he was going to be a breakout player. So we told y'all, and y'all saw that, and a lot of y'all probably already knew that. But he's throwing to ballers. Can he just keep from crashing this offense? I don't think he needs to be C.J. Stroud. I don't think he needs to be overly special. But can he keep quota with what they need to do offensively with Brian Hartline now getting the sticks as the offensive coordinator? So Ohio State currently for us heading into the spring is the number 2 team in our power rankings for the Big Ten Conference. Now at number 1, to quote Conor McGregor, the heavyweight champs do what they want. Back-to-back heavyweight champs, that is. Michigan is our number 1 team in the Big Ten pre-spring power rankings. And for the reasons I just said, they are back-to-back, y'all. Like, they have dropped the mic for 2 years in a row. Different quarterback, different coordinators, don't matter. Jim Harbaugh doing what Jim Harbaugh does and breeding a culture and an approach, especially on the offensive side, of how they're going to do things. They're going to be more physical. They're going to play with an edge. They're going to wear you down. That's who Michigan is. Sharon Moore has built just ferocious offensive lines with big human beings 2 years in a row, back-to-back Joe Moore Award winners. That's who they are. Now, where they could be even more dangerous, and we saw it a little bit at the end of last year, especially the Ohio State game, as they become more multiple, as J.J. McCarthy continues to grow and progress and become more comfortable as a passer, the sky's the limit for this Michigan team. And they're number 1 in our Big Ten pre-spring power rankings. They expect to be number 1 in the Big Ten. They expect to make the college football playoff. And Blake Corum got on the mic at a Michigan basketball game and said, we're going to be the national champs. Now, I love that edge, man. That's who they are. They're going to talk that talk, and then when it comes to the fall, they're going to walk the walk, and they've done that 2 years in a row. Now, for Michigan, though, you set the goal before you. You speak it into existence, okay, but now there's no sneaking up on anybody. There is no, what is Michigan going to be? We know what Michigan's going to be. Like, there's some question marks, sure, about are they going to hire another OC to go with Sharon Moore, and how much better does J.J. McCarthy get, and how do they replace some of the pieces they lost? They got a lot of pieces coming back, y'all. Like Michigan, I think we have a very good gauge for who they're going to be. Can they execute at the level they did a year ago? And that game, the last game of the year, man, I fully anticipate Nick Brake and I being there in Ann Arbor when Ohio State comes to town and you go for a third in a row against the Buckeyes. That, to me, will determine the Big Ten, as it has the last 2 years. So Michigan at number 1, Ohio State at 2, Penn State at 3. The Wisconsin Badgers, they're on boom watch. They're at number 4 for me. And for Purdue, I find them in that 5 spot. Would have taken other suggestions, but Purdue with Hudson Card, Ryan Walters, just a sneaky team, played for the title a year ago. They're my 5th team right now in the power rankings, heading into the spring for the Big Ten Conference. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.